So, as part of the introduction to India's foreign policy, now I would like to talk slightly, I mean, not a policy or anything, it's something very close to this, that is the persons of Indian origin. Okay, persons of Indian origin, those people who are not Indians by nationality right now, legally, but they are having an Indian origin. And the issues and a bit of history I would like to talk here, because that is very important. And this is where even I would like the PIOs, what we call as PIO, and also the issues of NRIs. Then subsequently when we come to Indian Constitution and polity, we will be even talking about the OCI, Overseas Citizens of India. So there are multiple issues. So in this context, I would like to talk about the persons of Indian origin and how it has happened and who are these persons of Indian origin in the first place. A bit of history, some of the issues faced by them, and the present scenario. So that is what I am looking. So now, as far as the PIO is concerned, in fact, who is an PIO? That is the first question normally. It is persons of Indian origin means a citizen of any country other than Bangladesh or Pakistan. In fact, we are very particular that if somebody has held Pakistani passport or Pakistani nationality or Bangladeshi nationality at some point of time, we will not consider them as PIO anymore. We will be talking about Pakistani citizen or Bangladeshi citizen only. So we are very clear, if someone has taken Pakistan citizenship, then they will not be a PIO in the first place. Otherwise, all those who have an Indian ancestry, all those who were part of our British India at some point of time. In fact, the PIO, the migration of people from India started from time immemorial. See, Indians migrated to even Sri Lanka. Please remember, during Ashokan time, when Ashoka got this final revelation, and when he changed after the Kalinga war, he sent his emissaries to Sri Lanka. That means some relationship with Sri Lankans at that time. Indians migrated to Sri Lanka at that time. We are talking about more than 2000 years of history. Indians migrated to Southeast Asia, Indo-China region. We have Borobudur temple, Angkor Wat temple. So all this shows that Indians migrated at that time. Indians migrated to various parts of the world from time immemorial. So we are not talking about those who migrated at that time. Even Sri Lankan Indian Tamil or Tamils migrated to Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan Tamils, what we call today, who are staying in the north and the east of the Sri Lanka. So we are not talking about them. These are part of diffusion of culture. So those migration which took place in the past, before the modern time, before the advent of the colonial rule, we can say, we call them as diffusion of culture. Migration of people as part of cultural diffusion. See, in fact, human beings did not evolve in India. Human beings evolved in Africa. So from there migration took place. So all are Africans if you look that way. So we are not calling ourselves as Africans because our forefathers came from Africa. The human evolution took place in Africa or in the eastern, northeastern part of Africa. So we are ignoring that part. So when we talk about the modern time, after the colonialism started and the modern time, after the advent of Britishers, in the last 200 years, those who migrated, maybe after 1833. So normally a cut-off date which we talk about persons of Indian origin are something related to the abolition of the beginning of the Indian indenture system. Indenture system. Indenture system means the system of semi-slavery. The system after the abolition of, in fact, slavery was abolished in British Empire in 1833. And in French colony, so it is in British Empire, slavery was abolished in 1833. In French colonies, slavery was abolished in 1848. In Dutch colonies in 1863. In Dutch colonies in 1863. In fact, 1863 is the year when Abraham Lincoln in US abolished slavery. 1863 in USA, Lincoln also abolished slavery during that time. So, when the slavery was abolished, they needed people to work in the colonies, and they found Indians to be a good substitute for the slaves who were brought from African countries at that time. So they signed an agreement, a semi-slavery or they contract. So indenture system is something like a contract labor system. Contract labor. So in the name of the contract labor, Indians were taken. So today when we talk about the PIOs, generally we can say that all those who were taken to various colonies during the British time or during this indenture labor system, and this indenture labor or the contract labor system continued till 1917. Finally, even this indenture labor was abolished by during the First World War time. So between 1833 to 1917, Indians were taken to various parts of the colonies, various parts of the world as part of the indenture system. Subsequently, or during this phase, even some of the Indians voluntarily migrated also in search of new economic activities and economic prosperity. That is also there. Today we have thousands of Indians are migrating to the developed world, to US, to New Zealand, to Canada, to Australia. So all those, and who are those? So who are those PIOs? That is the question now. So PIOs today in our definition. So generally, what I would like to say is all those who migrated in the modern time. That is number one. All those who migrated before British advent or before 1833, we will consider them as part of the diffusion of culture. So we are not considering them as PIOs in the first place. Then today, the modern day definition of a PIO is all those who were or rather who at any point of time held Indian passport. So now the first is all those who held at any point of time who held Indian passport. So that means those who were Indians at some point of time. That is number one. Number two, he or either his parents or grandparents were citizens of India by virtue of the Constitution and the Citizenship Act. So in 1950, who were eligible to be Indians, or by Citizenship Act of 1955, or basically who comes under the definition of India under the Government of India Act 1935. So during that time but those who did not hold any passport of Pakistan or Bangladesh subsequently, that is very important. So whoever were eligible to be Indian citizens in 1950 or by the 1935 Act or the Citizenship Act of 1950, whatever it is, so we will consider them as who are eligible but did not hold any passport right now. So we of Indian who did not hold any Indian passport or Indian citizenship, so we will call them as a PIO. Also, any person who is a spouse of an Indian citizen or a person mentioned in the who were eligible in 1950, or a person who had a Indian passport and subsequently gave up and took citizenship of another country. So basically what we are saying is that any person who is not an Indian citizen right now but who had an Indian ancestry or who are eligible to be an Indian citizen in 1950, or those who migrated from British India during the British time or rather after 1833, generally we call them as PIOs, persons of Indian origin. Whereas another term which we generally use is NRI. See, NRI is different. NRI is a non-resident Indian. He is already an Indian, but staying outside India. If more than 6 months he is staying outside India in a calendar year, in a financial year, more than 183 days, if he is staying outside India, then we call that person as an NRI. This is mainly for the income tax purpose and all. So if you are staying beyond 183 days outside India and any earning you get from outside, it is not taxed in India. So that is why an NRI status is very important for many people. Any income he earns within India will be taxed. Any income he got outside India will not be taxed, because he might have been paying the tax there also. So that is the concept of an NRI. So this PIOs, so now the issue is, now coming to the PIO and the indenture system. So let me talk about, as I said, after 1833, now coming back to this PIOs, let me talk about PIO, and after 1833, whoever was taken as part of the indenture system. So in fact, the first wave, the indenture system or the slavery was abolished in the British colonies in 1833, but in 1826 itself, Indians were taken to Reunion Islands. Reunion Islands in Indian Ocean, east of Madagascar. So the French colony at that time, Some Indians were taken for work in 1826 itself. Similarly, in 1829, Indians were taken to Mauritius from India, but most of these Indians were taken from the North Indian plain, right from Haryana to Western UP, Eastern UP, Bihar. That is the place from the North Indian plain where maximum population density was there, where maximum poverty was there, where people were willing, desperate, people are desperate because of the poverty, because of the drain of wealth. They wanted somehow to survive. So when this offer came, a contract labor system came, they were more than happy to jump into the ship and travel. Why? Because survival in the North Indian plains at that time was difficult because of the high density of population, the poverty, the famines, and also the destruction of our handicrafts by the Britishers because of their drain of wealth and the system, the way they were draining everything from India. So people were struggling, so they were more than willing. So most of these migrants were from the North Indian plains. So Mauritius, 1829. Similarly, in 1838, Indians were taken to Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, all in the Caribbean islands. Then in 1856, we were taken to Grenada. 1856, we were taken to Grenada. Also, we were taken to St. Lucia. In Caribbean islands again, 1856. 1860, we were taken to St. Kitts. St. Kitts. Then also, this is the time when Indians were taken to the eastern side of South Africa. Indians were taken to Natal. We were taken to Durban. Subsequently, even Mahatma Gandhi travelled to support these Indians who were taken from India, from Gujarat and all. Many, well-to-do or progressive Indians travelled to see some business there in the East African coast because of the Britishers there. So, 1860 Indians were taken to Durban, to Natal, to St. Kitts, that is 1860. Then Indians were again taken in 1862 to the Danish colonies, 1862 to Danish colonies. Then again 1873 to Suriname. In South America, the colonies there, the British colony there, the Suriname and that region. Then in 1879 to Fiji. So just see where all Indians were taken in the Pacific island. Then by 1890s. Now all these, till Fiji, all these migrants were predominantly from the North Indian plain. But things started changing by 1890s to 1910, predominantly from Tamil Nadu to Sri Lanka. Indian Tamils in Sri Lanka to work in the coffee and the tea plantation, the rubber plantations of Sri Lanka. To Sri Lanka, see, please remember, Sri Lanka has two types of Tamils. One is the Indian Tamils, other is Sri Lankan Tamil. Sri Lankan Tamils are those Tamils who migrated in the past, maybe 2000 years before, 3000 years before, who continued with the Tamil language and who maintained the Tamil culture. That is the, LTT and all belongs to that, the north and the east. But we Indians in 1890s, as part of the indentured labor, the Indian Tamils were taken to the central part of Sri Lanka, to the highlands of Sri Lanka, also to Malaysia. And this is also the time when Indians were taken to Hong Kong and other parts of the world also. So Indians were taken, Tamils were taken as part of the indentured. So a series of countries across the world, Indians were taken. And when we say that India would like to protect the interests of the people of Indian origin, we are talking about these are the people whose interests are to be taken care. We are not predominantly talking about Indians who have gone to US or Canada. So they are well-off people as part of the modern day Indians who migrated. That's a different story altogether. But we are talking about these people who migrated after 1833 as part of the indentured labor till the First World War. Subsequently, most of the people who migrated are part of their conscious decision to migrate. They are well-off people, they are educated people, they know how to manage. But these Indians who are staying or rather in these colonies and these places, there are many issues they face. Now let me just talk about the issues they face. First and foremost, the Indians who travel from India into these colonies, we refuse to intermingle with the locals. The local tribes, we did not interact much. We always kept our distance and differences. We always we knew that we are a superior cultural people, and the local tribal communities, we did not feel intermingling and interacting with them that easily. See, we always kept a distance with the local community, the local tribes. So the locals always had a problem, because even in Caribbean island, we were taken to undercut the slaves. When the slaves refused to work or the slavery was abolished, to counter the slaves or rather to replace the slaves, Indians were taken. So the black community, the African American people in that region, they always looked at Indians with suspicion. Even today, our relationship with between the Indian origin people and the African Americans in Caribbean islands are not so good. Why? Because Indians were brought there to undercut and counter their movement and counter the blacks or the African Americans. And second point is, we refuse, because of our cultural superiority and our feel about our Indian culture of 5,000 years of history, we also refuse to interact and intermingle. We refuse to, interdine. See, interdining or sharing the table, sharing the food. We refuse to share food with them. Many of us were vegetarians, but those people used to eat beef. They used to eat all, they used to eat pork. So we had our own problems. So we always kept away from them. Then we also refused to have, inter-community marriages. We always see, when you think a community is at par with your community, then only you will be promoting marriages and all. So we refuse to have marital relationship. We refuse to have interdining relationship. So we always kept apart, kept away from them. And most importantly, many a times we were taken to counter the locals. So we were always seen with suspicion. Even today, even in South Africa, India, the relationship of people of Indian origin and the black community is not so good. That is why not many Indian origin people are in the top leadership of African National Congress and all. We are not finding. Why? Because we were always seen as with suspicion. So our relationship with the locals are not so good. And number two issue I would like to say is, today when you look back, these Indian people of Indian origin are economically well off. Because we became hardworking, we are hardworking. Especially a migrant community will always be hardworking. They will be well off and better off than the local communities. So local communities always feel with jealousy. And this economically well off is an issue today. And locals feel that the local industry, the local business, everything is captured by Indians today. So there is an animosity, there is a jealousy component because of our economic prosperity. And our refusal to intermingle and interact with them further complicates the matter. So even today, even in Fiji, the Indians in Fiji and the local Fijians, the Aboriginal communities, their relationship is not so good, even though Indians were taken in 1879. We have gone there 140 years, 150 years before. Even today, our relationship is not so good. So people of Indian origin across the world, if it is a developed country, it's okay. If it is in US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the relationship issue is different. But in these colonies where we are, our relationship is slightly different. We are still having problem. So that is why as a part of our basic principle, the objective of our foreign policy to protect the interests of people of Indian origin, it is still valid and relevant even today. So we are talking about two types of people of Indian origin across the world. One, those who were taken to the colonies and part of the indentured labor and their descendants. And number two, those who migrated after independence and all voluntarily to the developed countries. They are in a well-off position and they are the torch bearers of India in US and all. That is the face of India today. There, the engineers, the doctors who are migrated, the scientists who are migrated. But a major concern is about the Indians who are taken as part of the indentured labor. So these are the issues. The issue of the cultural issue, the economic prosperity, and our not so good relationship with the local communities in the colonies. So these are still there. So these are the issues we should be keeping in mind when it comes to person of Indian origin outside India. So PIOs are not Indian. They are not legally Indians. They are Indian origin people staying in those countries.